So Jesus looked out at the crowd, and he looked into their faces, and he saw them. And he said, look, I'm going to begin where we all need to begin. You are blessed. Just as you are, right from the start, you are blessed simply to be. You are blessed, you who feel lost and alone and poor of spirit. You are blessed. He'd look around some more and he'd say, you who are grieving, you who are mourning a loss, you are blessed. Look around some more and he'd say, you who are meek, you are blessed. You who spend so much time seeking what is right and good and true, you are blessed. You are all truly blessed. And then somebody interrupts him and he says, okay, Jesus, we're going to be here all day if you go through everybody. So can we just cut to the chase and say all lives are blessed? And Jesus is going to say, no, actually, no, we can't. Because when you do that, it makes it really easy to either accidentally or even on purpose leave people out. So I'm going to go on, even if it takes all day, I'm going to go on, because it's important to make sure that every single person who's here feels like they are included and feels like they know that I know that they know that they're blessed. So sit down. Now, where was I? Okay. Blessed are the people who want to say all lives are blessed, because they will find themselves in a world of such diversity it will challenge them every day. And then I think he went on and on and on. And I think whoever recorded this story and handed it to whoever wrote it down edited all those out. There's no time for all that. Oh, that's too bad, because, there is time for that. Because if you can't hear Jesus speaking to you in these blessings, how will you know that you are blessed? Well, the obvious answer is you're already supposed to know that. But that's part of what Jesus is about, is making sure that you know you are blessed just to be you. We've lost our way since the very beginning when we were all good. We've lost our way. And that's what Jesus is about, isn't he? He's about bringing us back to God. And the way that Jesus does that in his life and in his teachings, in everything that is Jesus, the way he does that is to try and show us that we too, just like Jesus, are full of not only the earth, but the divine spirit of creation. Jesus is about showing us that everything that Jesus is capable of, we are capable of too. That's the trickiest part and that's, again, the point of Jesus. We've lost our way such that we don't see that relationship with God that allows us to understand we are blessed from the very beginning with the divine spirit and the earth. That's the piece that we need to reconnect with. And in order to reconnect with that relationship with God, it means finding God everywhere in creation. That means we need to reconnect not only with the God that we understand sitting here in a pew, the God that we think about and talk about, the God of spirit, but the God of activity too, the God of action. The spirit that connects us not only with each other in relationship, but with all of creation. It's one of the reasons, if you have not yet found your way to the First Nations translation of the New Testament, you should, because it's one of the beautiful things about it. The language is all about relationship, and especially when it comes to our relationship with the earth. The good road, those who walk softly, in bare feet. We are connected to the earth and to each other and to God, because we will find God in all of those things, including ourselves. That's why I think it's so important to remember that Jesus looks out at the crowd and he sees that connection isn't there. He sees it, and so he begins with, "You are blessed." And he's working his way through the crowd, and he gets to the meek. And this is one of my favorite ones, and it's such a well-known. The meek shall inherit the earth, right? Even the moment you hear the word, I guarantee an image is forming in your mind of what it means to be meek. If you're me, or you're, say, familiar with, musicals or movies, it's Seymour. Little Shop of Horrors, anybody? Seriously. Wow, you guys need to up your game. Rick Moranis, does that name ring a bell? Famous Canadian actor. Yeah, what I'm saying is, I'll describe Seymour for you. He's quite short. He kind of tends to stand like this. He's got the glasses, the big black heavy frame glasses with the white tape in the middle, right? He's very shy, and he's kind of, and he never puts himself forward. He never talks about himself, and he's too shy to talk to anyone. He's too shy to give anybody any ideas or suggestions. He's easily bossed around. He's very submissive, and his name's Seymour. Apologies to anyone in the room whose name is Seymour. That's the image we have. We have the image of somebody who's not going to amount to much. We have the image of somebody who's not going to speak up. Someone who's easily pushed around. And biblical scholars will tell you that's not what the word meek means in the Bible. And the way Jesus is using the word meek, what he actually means is somebody who is humble and gentle of spirit, but whose strength is their spirit. And their humility isn't about themselves, it's about how they can use their gifts for others, not for themselves. Jesus is talking about somebody who's incredibly strong, in other words, but doesn't make a point of it being about themselves, who serves others. Sounds like Jesus, doesn't it? It should, because Jesus actually describes himself as being meek. There are other characters, including Moses, who are described in the Bible as being meek, because that's what we mean in the Bible. Here's the thing, though. We want to say that's what it means in the Bible, and Jesus' audience would have understood it that way, but today, in the 21st century, we understand that it means something different. So, change your thinking. Maybe, or, hear me out, if you feel meek because you feel like that first one, that you're Seymour, Jesus is talking to you just as much as he's talking to somebody whose strength of spirit is solid and strong. That's the great thing about hearing these stories of Jesus, is we don't have to put ourselves in the first century. We have to put ourselves exactly where we are. That's why he's talking to everyone individually. You are blessed, you who are meek. Whether you understand that the way we mean it in the Bible, or whether you understand it the way we mean it today, you are still blessed just to be you. If you are somebody who is hungry and thirsting after righteousness, Well, there's a whole phrase of Bible speak right there, isn't there? Isn't it great how so often Jesus will use those images about being hungry and thirsty? In fact, throughout the Bible, the image of hungry and thirsty, the things that, keep us alive, not just our spirit, but us. That's the power of the image. It's not just about spirit. It's about the reality of being. We need food and water. Jesus isn't just the wellspring of spirit, but of the action to actually feed and water and clothe and care for each other. That's why you feel filled, or better translation, satisfied. Not just in spirit, when you've done something successful that is meaningful, or you've done something kind for someone else, or cared for something. Of course you feel good about it, because you've been filled, you've been satisfied. Not just in spirit, but actually physically too. It's not just about the spirit. It's the wholeness of things. That's what Jesus is about. That's why the meek inherit the earth. Because it's about being connected to the earth. Those who are humble and open to the world around them will connect to the world around them. It's the only way we can. Right? That's why we think meekness is a failure of spirit. It's why we think it's a vulnerability. Vulnerability is also a strength. We don't treat it that way. We treat it like it's a weakness. But it's the thing that opens us to each other. We cannot have empathy and compassion for each other unless we're willing to be vulnerable. We cannot be open to seeing the Spirit of God, not only in each other, but in all of creation, unless we are willing to be meek, to be humble about it, to be open to it. Jesus isn't just offering a word of blessing to remind us we are already blessed, but to remind us how to use it. That we must use it. We need to be open not only to each other, but to all of creation. And we need to make a difference in our care for creation, in our care for each other. How are you going to do that? See, I think this is the other thing, and you hear me say this all the time, I'm sure, and you're tired of hearing this, but I always think we got the highlight reel here. That's why we only got, 8, 9 Beatitudes instead of the probably 372 that Jesus did. Because there was conversation, there was dialogue. I'm sure when he said, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth," somebody went, "What? Can you say more about that?" Just like with each of these, can you say more? And there would have been some conversation, some dialogue. We just got the statements. So what do you mean by that, Jesus? Well, I mean, you're blessed to be, right from the beginning, when you are someone who is open to the world around you, that's a blessing. It truly is. What are you going to do with it now? Because you can't just kind of go, "Oh, that's great, I feel blessed, that's awesome. I'm going to go home now and, get on with the rest of my day." What are you going to do with that? The Beatitudes aren't just a way of saying, "You are blessed." It's a way of saying, what are you going to do with it now? What are you doing with your blessing? What are you doing with it? Because there's a whole world that needs your help and your support and your care and your love and your compassion. It might be the person sitting next to you. It might be somebody you bump into on the street. It might be that your garden needs some attention. It might be that the garden that is beyond your garden needs some attention. It's funny, isn't it, how we tend to talk about creation that way. If it's in our backyard, it can be a garden. But somehow if it's, further away, it's, wilderness, or it's, we have a name for it, prairie, mountain, whatever we call it. It's not a garden anymore. And yet, in the beginning, it was all a garden. It was all a garden because it mattered. All of it. And for the meek and those who are open to the world, it all matters. That's also why those who look for what is true and right can feel filled or satisfied. It's because it does. It fills us up to feel connected, to feel a connection because it matters. All my relations, right? When First Nations people say that, and it's on the United Church of Canada crest, by the way, all my relations, it doesn't just mean people, it means all creation because it all matters. We are part of all of it. Blessed to be.